dark thing lurking in the corner. Not sure how long it's going to be. I think some stories benefit from being brief, so we'll see how this goes. George Whitham's grandfather sat up in the hospital bed despite being a mostly pious man much of his life, and stuck up both middle fingers at the dark, empty corner across the room. George started to get up and move toward the door, but his mother placed a hand over the boy's shoulder and shook her head as George took his seat again. It took him a moment to realize Mom thought he was trying to flee the room. His plan... Check out Dell Trade. No thank you, computer. His plan had been to turn on the lights to banish the darkness and help his grandfather, Wilson Corman, to see there was nothing there. George wanted to defend himself, but decided to stay silent. His mom, Alice Whittam, even after the divorce, whispered to her father, "There's nothing there, Dad. Calm down." George wasn't sure anyone ever calmed down after being told to do so. Alright, let's fix all these misspelled words. Mr. Frank. George wasn't sure anyone ever calmed down after being told to do so. Grandpa certainly didn't this time. Wilson Coleman sat up as straight as his bent back would allow, and growled at the corner like none of the family was even there. You're not getting me tonight. Same as you didn't get me any other night. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to, Dad? The man with bone face who came here uninvited, he said. George's flesh prickled. George's flesh prickled, and he shivered. Wilson Coleman continued. Today is not your day. Tomorrow probably won't be either. I'm not yours, and you lose again. Because you don't have power over the time or place. You're just embarrassing yourself again. Go down the hall and find easier prey. You bastard. Alright, continuing on. Mom patted George's shoulder again. He felt no reassurance from it. Grandpa jumped out of bed. Despite all his ailments, he stalked around the end of the hospital bed like he was chasing something, barely using the bed for support. He stopped at the ends of his cords, leads, and IV. George wasn't sure if that was on purpose or coincidence. Grandpa didn't seem to be paying attention. Grandpa didn't seem to be paying attention to things in the real world. His eyes tracked some invisible thing moving from the dark corner toward the door in the old man's mind. George wondered if the man might come to in the middle of his fit and then drop to the floor when he realized he was standing and swaying with no one helping him, like some cartoon character might. Open the door and get the F out of here. He yelled. Go on before I break you into bones. You can't touch me, a-hole. I can put a hurt on you. Just try me. I want you to refuse. You be. Mom tapped George's shoulder again. But this time she whispered, "Go on outside and wait for me, please." George stood up to obey, more afraid than he ever remembered being before. More fear filled him as the door opened. Let me do this. The fear broke a little as the door opened, and George expected help to come, either security, doctors, or nurses, to calm down Grandpa. The fear rose higher than before when there was no one there to open the door. Keep going, Grandpa muttered. The door creaked a little louder as it opened wider. There was a pause, and it slammed closed by itself. George's legs gave out as he sat back down in his chair hard. Grandpa turned and moved back to his bed like that was the end of it. George whispered, with barely any breath behind his words. Who opened the door? Grandpa huffed and followed that with a string of coughs that lasted until he laid back down and covered up. Mom helped him with the covers and then rubbed, oh come on, and rubbed his bony back. Grandpa wiped his mouth and said, "An old enemy coming for me too early." I didn't see anyone. George said, staring at the closed door. I'm glad to hear that. Wilson Corman. I've probably misspelled that a couple times. Corman. glad to hear that. Let's put our commas and quotation marks in the right place. Wilson Corman said, as long as he's fixated on me, maybe he'll leave you all alone for a long time. Grandpa drifted off to a snoring slumber. George whispered, "Mom?" She said, "I don't know what that was. Don't worry about it." George stayed silent for the rest of their visit, but just like saying, "Calm down," no one ever stopped worrying just because they were told to. All right.